In today's video, I'm going to explain how you could save thousands of dollars when booking your flights with a little bit of planning. One of the questions I get asked the most is, how can I afford to fly business and first class, and is there a trick? In this video, I'll explain there is no trick. It's just understanding how you can double the value of your hard-earned cash by planning a little ahead with some strategic purchases of AirPoint bundles from airlines you may not even fly, and make the most out of some of the best loyalty programs out there. Please watch the video until the end. It could be the best use of 12 minutes you've had in a while. So one of the questions that I get asked the most is, how do I afford to be able to fly in business class and first class? And the answer is, I probably pay a whole lot less than you do. And look, it's not because airlines pay me or give me a reduced airfare or any incentive to review them, because that just doesn't happen. But 90% of the time when I fly, I've bought them using a process. I bought the air ticket using a process where I've pre-bought a bundle of air points for all intents and purposes at a significant discount. And then I wait for a redemption special, and I end up being able to fly some of the world's best airlines for thousands of dollars cheaper than you're likely to pay if you're paying purely on the airline's website or through a travel agent and booking direct. Now, some YouTubers over the last year or so have started to try to charge for these sort of insights into, and I don't want to call them tricks, because there's no trick. I mean, it's openly acknowledged that this process exists. But, you know, it's an insight. It's a knowledge that one accumulates from traveling a lot or being very mindful of frequent flyer programs and flying initiatives that airlines use to sell their inventory. Now, look, my background, why would you listen to me? Well, you don't have to, of course, but I come from an aviation background. I qualified as a commercial pilot. I flew commercially. I was involved in launching a couple of airlines in New Zealand. One failed after a couple of years. We learned a lot from that. And the second, I was able to sell, and depending which newspaper you read, it's because we were about to fail, and others say, no, we pulled off quite a good transaction. I'll leave you to decide. But the reality is this: I have a broad understanding of the airline industry, both from a retail, customer-facing point of view, and to some of the logic and thinking that goes on behind airlines and how they distribute their product. So let's start explaining and giving you slightly more in depth. So I think everybody is likely to know that one of the best things you can do is, if you've got a passion for travel, or if you travel for work, or even if you sort of want to travel one time a year with your family, that it's a good idea to join up to a frequent flyer program. We all know that. And in countries like New Zealand and Australia, you're probably best to go with either the national carrier or the largest carrier that services your airport. If you're lucky enough to live in other parts of the world where there are multiple significant carriers that fly in and out of your home city, then you've got more of a choice. But once you join a frequent flyer program, in my case I joined Air New Zealand, their points system is called AirPoints, then obviously you try to get a credit card that's associated with that program. And so that your everyday travel, everyday expenses like buying fuel or going shopping or entertainment or even your kids' school fees, you pay on your credit card, you accumulate points, and if you then also fly quite often with that carrier, you'll not only accumulate points that you could use for redemption, but you're likely to also accumulate status points. Now, they're two very different things. The more you fly, because carriers want to incentivize you to fly, that will change your status. That's how you get to silver, gold, or elite. And that gives you lounge access, where simply flying infrequently but spending a lot of money on your credit card, all that will do is give you points, and when you're ready you can redeem those points, often at quite a good redemption opportunity. And you know, that's where you see these bloggers sort of say, oh, I flew first class between Tokyo and London and it cost me $400. Well, it cost them $400 in taxes and fees, but it probably cost them 160,000 frequent flyer miles that they've had to pay real cash for, and so that comes at a cost. But it's still interesting and it's still a useful tool to fly inexpensively. But that's not how I do it. So I've talked about the fact that I fly frequently with Air New Zealand and whenever I can, and my credit card is associated with Air New Zealand, so I'm accumulating points. But I also obviously fly quite often and buy my tickets with them, and that gives me status, and that gets me into the lounges quite often. But one of the things that I do most often when I'm trying to fly business class and first class, and it's really at the front end of the aeroplane, this opportunity presents itself. Whereas if you're flying economy, it's not necessarily as advantageous. But what I do is I also have joined up with Air Canada's Aeroplan. Now, other airlines have similar opportunities. I just want to speak to you briefly about Aeroplan because on balance, I think it's probably the best frequent flyer program in the world. Not only is it associated with Star Alliance, of course, Air Canada is a Star Alliance member, but they also have a number of other airlines who are not sort of aligned to any particular frequent flyer program, like Emirates and Etihad, world-class airlines in their own right. And so you can, with Air Canada Aeroplan points, you can redeem on those carriers. But that's not anything special. There's no difference in that sense than Air New Zealand, albeit that with Aeroplan you get a broader selection of airlines. But what makes Aeroplan much more attractive is that they also sell points. No, they're not the only one, but they sell points all year round, but 3 or 4 times of the year they come out with amazing promotions where you can basically double your points. So if you spend $10,000 worth with them, you'll get $20,000 worth of Aeroplan points. And every once in a while, they then will also have redemption specials. Now, I've found from experience, if you actually get Aeroplan points and you try to use them to fly Air Canada, it works out pretty expensive. But where Air Canada's Aeroplan has a real sweet spot is on all their other Star Alliance members and the other carriers like Etihad and EK, where you can get some amazing deals. So basically, what I do is I spend maybe $10,000 a year during a sale with Air Canada Aeroplan. That gives me the buying power of nearly spending $20,000, and I bank those points. And then when I plan my travel, I ideally try to align that with a redemption special, and that means I end up getting some amazing deals, and I'm going to show you some of those deals very soon. But it is a really meaningful mechanism where you can travel first class and business class and literally save thousands of dollars compared to if you actually booked through the travel agent or directly with the airline through their internet booking engine and paid cash. You're still going to have to pay cash, It's different to having accumulated points through everyday spending and through normal points that you acquire when you're flying for a ticket you've paid. Remember, if you're using a redemption ticket, to a ticket that you've gleaned from spending points, you get no status credit and you certainly don't get any points. So there are two very different mechanisms. So when I'm paying for a ticket and I book directly with the carrier, I'm more likely to fly Air New Zealand and Star Alliance. Sometimes that includes Air Canada, but I'm more likely to use my Air New Zealand points number to get the status, and that enables me to enjoy access to the lounge. But if I'm going long haul and I'm wanting business class or first class, I will always try the Aeroplan option first, where I've accumulated these points and I'll try to redeem. Now, let me come and show you some of the examples of where this has really saved me an incredible amount of money and given me access to world-class products and experiences. So I purchased 230,000 Aeroplan points. In fact, they contract out the whole purchase process to buypoints.com, but with the bonus that doubles to 460,000 for a total cost of 8,452 Canadian, which meant that each point cost me just over 18 cents Canadian. Then I visited the Air Canada website, bought a Brisbane to Bangkok on Singapore Airlines in business class. That cost 36,000 points plus 310 Canadian dollars in taxes and fees. Now the 36,000 points had only cost me $661.50 Canadian cents for a total out-of-the-pocket cost of $971.60. If I'd bought the ticket directly via Singapore Airlines on their website, after conversion that would have cost $2,843 Canadian and 11 cents, a total saving of $1,872.11 Canadian. Now, buying bundles of air points like this is not without some risk. There is no guarantee there will be redemption availability when you want to book, and sometimes what is available is more expensive than during redemption sale periods. There are no guarantees that airlines won't change rules, and when you've used this method to buy your ticket, and you try to then change the dates or the routing, it is near impossible. You're stuck with what you've booked. Now look, if you found this video helpful, please subscribe. Please click the notification button, like the video, share with your friends. Monique and I are passionate about travel. We don't purport to know everything, but we do have a good insight, and we try to share all the information. If we make a mistake, we'll try to correct it. Again, thanks for watching, and travel safe.